Western Cape Transport MEC Bonginkosi Madikizela met with leaders of taxi associations to discuss a rise in violent attacks. One person was killed and 2 others were wounded in 2 shootings last week. Well, what measures are being taken to ensure the safety of commuters? Madikizela joins us live from Cape Town tonight. Good evening, MEC, and it's a pleasure to have you with us this evening. Perhaps let's just talk about the approach that you're taking in order to try and quell this violence.
Good evening, Cathy, and good evening to your viewers. Look, we had a very frank discussion yesterday with the leaders of the taxi industry in the Western Cape. Just to quickly jump to your question, I had a meeting this morning with my officials because we know exactly what is the bone of contention in that particular route. It's historic, Cathy, and I think it's something that has been left unattended to for some time. But I mean, at the same time, I made it very clear to the leaders that the challenges that exist in a number of routes should not result in us killing each other. And I'm hoping that by the end of this week, after the meeting that we had yesterday, I'll be able to give a clear resolution as to how we're going to deal with the issue of the route that is a bone of contention, which is between Bellville and Park.
So in your understanding and perhaps in your own words of this route issue, what is really the problem there that has not been attended to over the years, as you put it?
Look, Cathy, each and every association gets a permit to operate, in a particular route. What happened in that the route that is in question is that route was given to a particular association. Then subsequent to that, some members of that association then left and joined another association. But the problem here is that they left that association with their permits. Now, that is where the problem is, because the route is given to a particular association, and when those members left and went and joined another association, and they are still operating there, which means you have 2 associations operating in a route that was supposed to be operated by one association, because the members who left and joined the other association, kept their permits and they are still operating. So we've got to get to the bottom of it.
How long have you been aware of this problem?
Look, when I went to PAL, I think early this year, that was just before COVID, with National Minister, this issue was brought to my attention by the leaders of that route. But the biggest stumbling block here, Cathy, is the administrative process that one needs to embark on, because for us to make sure that we take away the permits of the legitimate owners of those permits, that was the issue that really delayed us. Because ultimately, the key issue here, Kate, is that you have 2 umbrella bodies, and then you have associations that are operating there. And those associations belong to 2 different umbrella bodies, as I said, when the route was given to one association. So it became an administrative, challenge. But I think COVID then happened, which also, became an issue that delayed us in dealing with this issue. And I think, as I said, we are, on the verge of dealing with it.
Sure. And I mean, you can point to an administrative bungling, as it were, for part of this issue. But the reality is that we have commuters whose lives have now been endangered, who've lost their lives, even some of them, as a result of part of what is happening. And I think there certainly needs to be a greater sense of urgency in resolving this problem.
But you see, Cathy, that's exactly the issue here. That is the point that I made to the leadership yesterday. We cannot make excuses for killing people just because there's a challenge that is being resolved. And I think the leadership in the taxi industry must understand that killing each other is not a solution. And all of us must take responsibility in making sure, because from the day when this issue was brought to our attention, we put measures in place to make sure that we deal with this issue. What was required then from the leadership itself was to call their members and make sure that they really, really respect the process, because all of us are part of this process.
Sure, but the taxi industry is notorious for not playing by the rules. The violence within the industry is also quite notorious. So I suppose beyond telling them not to be violent, where's the work that police have been doing to try and understand who is behind the violence? Where are the arrests for those who have been killed, for those who have been injured?
Well, Cathy, I must commend the members of South African Police Service. They've done a tremendous work. I mean, I can tell you now that immediately after the shooting in Bellville on Thursday and Friday, 7 suspects have already been arrested. And unfortunately, one of those suspects is the councillor in the city of Cape Town. And since this violence started, Cathy, for your information and your viewers, 97 people have been arrested. 47 cases are before the court rule, and I must commend them. They've done a sterling work. But these are different processes that we need to follow. Where the law is broken, the law must take its course. But that will not be a solution here. We need to provide leadership, I mean, from the taxi industry leaders, and we need to provide the solution from government side. This is a multi-pronged approach, and from the side of SAPS, I must commend them. They've done their work, because many people are behind bars as we speak.